You got it.
All right, well, I think that we are live on Facebook, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our Transfer Tuesday session for today. We have our friends from the McNair Scholars program here to talk a little bit about what the McNair Scholars program is and how it applies to you as a transfer student and how you can be a part of it. So we're just going to jump right in with the basics.
Yes.
Jessica Love, who is the McNair Scholars Program Coordinator here. I'll let her introduce herself a little bit. And then why don't you just tell us what is the McNair Scholars Program?
Yes, I'm Dr. Love. So we can begin talking about what the McNair Scholars Program is. It's a federally funded TRIO program that's designed to increase the number of PhDs in groups underrepresented in graduate education. What we mean by group underrepresented is a lot of things. When we talk about minority students, we don't just talk about racial minorities. We talk about first generation college students. We talk about women in STEM. We're talking about students who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, right? So that's what we mean by groups underrepresented. But the McNair Scholars Program is very near and dear to my heart because I was a McNair Scholar, but primarily because it is activism in the academy. The McNair Scholars Program is named after Dr. Ronald E. McNair, who was a laser physicist, and he was a part of NASA, and he died aboard the Challenger spaceship explosion in 1986. And the Department of Education, after his death, realized all of the significant contributions that he made in laser physics. But not only that he was a minority who had done amazing things in his field, and they wanted to create opportunities, more opportunity, educational opportunities for students who came from disadvantaged backgrounds, from students who were underrepresented in certain academic disciplines. And so there we have the McNair Scholars Program. So it's truly about creating educational pipeline opportunities for students who would have not otherwise had these affordances.
Wonderful. And that I learned something new today. I did not know that it was named after somebody who had been aboard the Challenger. So
yes. He was the second African-American to go into space. So he broke a lot of, groundbreaking leeway. And they wanted to create this program to give other students opportunities, but to expand their possibilities as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. Awesome. So tell us, you alluded to this a little bit, but tell us more specifically, who is eligible to apply to be a McNair Scholar?
Okay, can I share my screen?
Yes.
Let me share my screen. Great. So let me present this. Great. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
I created this really cool graphic to show what we mean by eligibility, and it kind of breaks it down and simplifies it. I always tell students to raise your hand if any of this applies to you. 60 credit hours. We're looking for students who have 60 credit hours, are going to have at least 60 credit hours by the summer. A 3.0 GPA. And they're pursuing their first bachelor's degree. You have to be pursuing your first bachelor's degree. And we're looking for citizenship. Someone who's a U.S. citizen, permanent U.S. resident, or even those students who are attempting to establish residency. You are still applicable for this program. So if you're going through the process, don't be intimidated by that. We accept that. Just give us some type of notification that let us know that you're going through this process and you're eligible for the program. But then there are two other things that we're looking for. There are two ways that students can be eligible for this program. One, you can be from an income eligible household and a first generation college student. You can meet those qualifiers. And I'll talk about what income eligible means in just a minute. Or if you don't qualify that way, you can be from a member of an underrepresented group in graduate education. That's African Americans, Latinx, Mexican, Hispanic, Pacific Islander, all of those groups as defined by the Department of Education. Or you can be a student underrepresented in academic discipline. And this is kind of where we see women in STEM who would not otherwise be represented or highly represented in those fields. They are eligible for those type of programs. So really quick, I want to talk about what we mean by income eligible, because that's often a question that we get from students. And here is our website where you can find all of those frequently asked questions that you may or may not understand. So the Department of Education qualifies students as income eligible if if their family unit size does not precede this poverty level. So for example, I came from a family household of 5. It was my mother, me, my oldest sister, my little brother, and my baby sister. So we would be a group of 5, a family unit size of 5. As long as my mother's taxable income, her family size taxable income did not exceed this amount, I'm eligible as an income eligible student. When I was a McNair Scholar, I was income eligible and first generation. So let's talk about really quickly what we mean by first generation. When we talk about students who are first generation, we're talking about those students whose parents or guardian had no significant influence on their educational upbringing. Neither their mother or their father or either of their guardians, whoever their guardian may be, had a significant influence on their education, meaning they did not have a bachelor's degree. So if your mother has a technical degree or your father has a vocational degree, that still does not qualify your parents as graduates from a bachelor's degree. So you would still be considered a first generation college student. Also, there are extreme cases, right? Let's say, Lauren, that I was raised by my grandparent and my mother had a bachelor's degree, but she maybe died when I was like 5 and my father was not present in the picture. They still did not have a significant influence on my education. So I would still be considered a first generation college student. And again, by first generation college student, we mean those students whose parents or guardian did not have a bachelor's degree. Or if their parents or guardian are living and they don't stay with them and they don't have a significant influence on their upbringing, you're still considered a first generation college student. And that's pretty much it in terms of eligibility.
Thank you. And I appreciate the description of first generation college students, because I feel like sometimes people are like, oh, well, my parents had an associate's degree, or, there's that confusion. Can you also clarify if you were a student who neither parent had a bachelor's degree, but you had an older sibling who had recently graduated from a 4-year institution, would they still be considered a first generation college student as well?
Yes, it's about their parenting, right? It's about who's ever in your household, who's over your household, who's guiding you and helping you shape your choices for education if they had a bachelor's degree, because technically your sister and sibling would be a first generation college student. So the kids wouldn't necessarily have an impact on you as well. If neither of your guardians are parents, not your sister, your cousin, your aunt, but the people who are raising you, taking care of you, financially affording you, they don't have a bachelor's degree as well. And also too, can I clarify something as well, Lauren? Do we have a quick second for that? What we mean by independent, by being an independent student, right? Because those students are eligible as well. You are only considered an independent student for FAFSA. And I know some students say, well, I take care of myself. I got my own apartment. My mom isn't helping me do that, et cetera, et cetera. But according to the Department of Education, again, we don't come up with these qualifiers. According to the Department of Education, you are considered an independent student if you meet any of these qualifiers. You're 24 years of older by January 1st, married or separated, you're a parent with children who receive more half of their support from you. If you are you're in veteran status, and I'm in the military as well. So if you're a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces, but we're not talking about training purposes. So if you're on training on active duty orders, that doesn't count. If you're in foster care, a ward of the state, a dependent of the court since you were 13, you're qualified as an independent student for FAFSA. If you're an emancipated minor, or if you're a youth who's unaccompanied and you're considered homeless, then you are qualified as an independent student. Otherwise, you need to be submitting your parents' tax return documents. And we can talk about what students need to apply for the program next.
Yes, so I know a lot of intricacies, but those things are important. And of course, if you feel that your situation needs more clarification, then just information will be available afterwards.
Yes, and please know that if any of these things, I know it can get very touchy when you're talking about your familial situations and you students, we've had all kind of extreme cases, right? And so please know that confidentiality is something that we value. It's a part of our job. We're trained on confidentiality. So none of this information will be shared to anyone. We just want to know if you're eligible for this program. And if you're going through the process and say, hey, this is something I might be interested in, but don't know for sure if you're eligible, you can submit those documents to us, come by my office, call me, email me, and we can talk it out and see if you're eligible really quickly before you jump into this thing.
Absolutely. So as you know, we're targeting and talking to transfer students. So tell us a little bit about when a transfer student should start considering and apply for this program.
Transfer students are the bread and butter of students that we're looking for, because you're coming from an institution to USM. So you're kind of in this place where you kind of know what you want to major in, and you're going to be like sophomore or junior status. We're looking for students with 60 credit hours, and becoming a McNair Scholar is the ultimate way that you can take advantage of your opportunity here at USM, but helping you chart what you're going to do when you leave here. And that's what the McNair Scholars program is for. So if you're a transfer student, the time to start applying is now, because the deadline to apply is October the 31st. And you don't want to miss that window to help you start getting graduate school preparation, to help you start doing those CVs and those cover letters that you're going to need to apply to the next academic institution that you want to go to help you progress in your career. So now is the time. If you're a transfer student, do not wait. You have ample enough time to complete this application, but now is the time to really start thinking about what's my next step. So when you enter USM, how can I maximize my opportunity and my experiences here? Well, the McNair Scholars program is one way to do that.
Awesome. So I feel like you've sold us on like definitely think that it's a great fit, or if we're a great fit and it's a great experience. But talk a little bit more about the specific benefits of being a McNair Scholar.
Definitely. Let me pull this up. I always like to pull this up too, because it is so useful for students to know, like how the McNair Scholars program can be beneficial to them. Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Well, right off the bat, I can tell you that we give students $4,200 stipend, right? And that is not a stipend that's credited to your account that pays off some balance that you have. That stipend comes directly to you in the form of a check, and you get to decide what to do with it. But the best way the McNair Scholar prepares you and is beneficial to you is that we pair you with a faculty mentor of your choice to conduct research that you are passionate about. So if you're a student who your research is your thing, graduate school is a next step for you, a PhD maybe is something that you have a desire for or an inclination to get, the McNair Scholars program provides you graduate school prep. You get to get research experience, lab experience, if those are things that you need. We give you free GRE prep, free GRE test waivers, free graduate application waivers. Sometimes those things can cost up to $200 in applying for graduate schools. And to know that the McNair Scholars program allows you to get free application waivers, that is a big mediator for many students. Traveling opportunities, cultural experiences. We take students on several graduate school trips to help them look for schools that may be beneficial to them. Or sometimes students end up networking with faculty mentors and faculty members at their university that often bridges a pipeline for them to go to those schools. We give you professional and career development workshops, one-on-one mentor. All of these things are provided to students when they become a McNair Scholar. And I don't even have to oversell these points, because these are truly things that students get when they become a part of this program. And we have this thing that once you become a McNair Scholar, you're always a McNair Scholar. So these type of this type of social support and networking, and even some of the resources can still be available to students once they move on from USM and go to grad school. If you need help writing a cover letter and a CV, all of those things, or you need help just in general, figuring out your finances, we go through all of that. Most of our students leave the program already with graduate assistantships and graduate fellowships secured. They have graduate funding secured because that is a part of the program. We help you decide what graduate schools you want to go to, and we help you look for funding. Some of our students are planning to go to Stanford University, and most of them are going to get in because once you become a McNair Scholar, you're not just a top scholar here at the university. You become a part of a global conglomerate of America's top scholars. So when people see that at the top of your resume or your CV, they begin to open doors of opportunities for you because they know that you are a student who's prepared for graduate study.
Absolutely. I'm sold. I'm like, I'm ready to get back to college and try to see if I can become a McNair Scholar. Okay, so is there anything that we may have missed on any other services that you may provide to students that you'd like to share?
No, I think that's pretty much it. The McNair Scholars Program is a community. We focus on cultural development. We focus on, and then once you become a McNair Scholar, you have a McNair cohort. So you gain friends, right? If you're a transfer student, this is so important. When you get here, you don't have a community, may or may not have a community of friends to lean on. But once you get in the cohort, you're in the cohort with 15 or 11 other students who you can depend on, who you get to bridge connections with, and you get faculty mentorship. Right? We have staff persons here who provide you with that one-on-one attention. So it's so much greater than the tangible benefits that the McNair Scholars Program provides. I mean, I'm still in contact with some of my peers that I was in the McNair Scholars Program with, and it's so beneficial as you're navigating beyond the academic doors of USM.
Wonderful. So I think we've covered all the information that they would need to know. Now I just want to make sure that they know where y'all are located, how they can find you, and how they can reach you with questions.
Okay. And before I do that, I want to share application material because there are like 6 things that students need to know. We have actually condensed the application process because we're going to help you do all of the rigorous things when you actually get in the program. These are the 6 things that you need to apply. The McNair application, a 4-page maximum writing sample, and that could be an assignment that you did for a class. We just need to know that you know how to cite sources. We need to just gauge your intellectual aptitude with that assignment. So 4-page maximum. It doesn't have to be over 4 pages. A letter of recommendation from an instructor or a faculty member that can speak to your intellectual aptitude. And you're a transfer student, right? So it doesn't have to be from someone here at USM. It can be from an old professor at your previous institution that you came from. And if you somehow just don't have a professor or a faculty member that can speak to your intellectual aptitude, find someone that you worked with in the organization. In those extreme cases, we accept those letters of recommendation. A 500 to 800 word statement of purpose about your educational and career goals. And we just want to know what those career goals are, how they formulated, and how McNair can help you achieve them. And then we need a PDF copy of your FAFSA student aid report. If you completed that FAFSA, we just want a copy of your student aid report. And we already talked about submitting a PDF copy of your 2020 tax return. Now, the way that you can connect with us is here. If you have any specific questions about the McNair Scholars Program and you need more information, you can email me at jessica.f.love@usm.edu. I'm always accessible. That's my office number, but it's probably better to email me. Everything that I've discussed today can be found on the USM website. We also have a just standard email, right? It is called McNairScholars@usm.edu. If you have more information, if you have more questions about eligibility, the application, what it looks like, you can email us there and we'll be accessible to you.
Awesome. Well, I think that pretty much covers it. I also put some of that contact information in the description on the Facebook Live video, so you can get it there. But I think that's just about everything. Thank
Yes,
you,
yes.
Dr. Love, for being here and for
Thank
sharing
you.
the information with us. And hopefully we'll have some more transfer students joining the McNair Scholars program very soon.
Yes, thank you so much, Lauren, for having us. Y'all have a good day.
All right, y'all have a great week.